What we're going to talk about today is hospital protocol, what relates to HIPAA, that bad word that ministers don't like that keeps them from getting patient information, but it's really all about patient privacy. Standard precautions, in other words, sanitation, hand washing, those kind of things. And then corporate compliance and ethics, what we need to do about that. I'm going to put that away because I'm going to keep picking it up. All right. First, HIPAA. HIPAA, that word the government gave the term Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Every time the government gets hold of something, they have to make it long. And they have to make it complicated. And it's a good thing to protect patients, but sometimes we go a little too far. So our job is, what does the government really say about this? And that information should be there on your pages. Did you see that handout? So you don't have to write it all? Did you find that? Yep. Okay. Be sure you're doing a lot of writing.
Oh,
there you go.
I can't say thank you.
Okay. Be sure it's already there on your handout. So what we're trying to protect is the patient's name, address, telephone number, medical record number, date of birth, diagnosis, prognosis, social security number, patient account number. Those are the secret things. Those are the things we shouldn't share. And everything in the hospital is going to be on the need-to-know basis. If you're a nurse that's leaving at 7 p.m. and another nurse is coming on at 7 p.m., the next nurse that's taking care of the patient needs to know what happened, okay? So I'm sure it's good to give that information. If you're a respiratory therapist taking care of this patient, then you need to know so much. If you're a chaplain coming in, would tell you as a chaplain, you're going to take care of this patient, then you need to know this. But a local clergy who's not a badge-wearing hospital chaplain wouldn't need to know that. So they would keep certain information secret and say, well, then you need to go ask the patient, you need to go ask the family, but we, the employees, we can't tell you that. But the hospital chaplain's working on the system like that, then, and that's part of the training. Some of the nurses don't know. We haven't had volunteer chaplains, so they go, is it okay to tell them? Yes. So I'm doing a whole training for staff so that they understand how the spiritual care team is going to work with them. So it's good training for them. So all staff is going to take that training. We have a website for them called HealthNet, and we have a mandatory, every year they have to take so many classes, and that will be one of the classes now on spiritual care, so that every employee can understand spiritual care and know what they need to do as an employee. So what we do in the hallway is say, we're a volunteer chaplain, we're working in the hospital, and I need to share some information. I kind of look around, I'm in the elevator, and there's somebody that's not with who needs to know. I don't say anything. Or in the hallway, who's standing behind me, who's around me. And you might see other employees not following that rule. Doctors talking too loud, nurses talking to nurses. Just because they do it doesn't mean we can do it, and they should be very careful about that, and they're taught that. But sometimes we do get a little too loose-lipped with that, so we need to be careful. A volunteer also, if you're a volunteer chaplain, we will give you a badge, and wearing that badge is part of HIPAA law. It's part of patient privacy and patient safety for them to know who is in their room. So if I'm a nurse, they need to know I'm a nurse. I'm a doctor, they need to know. If I'm a chaplain, they need to know who you are. Who is this guy? So if you were coming to work that day on a volunteer shift, or you got called in, please come in, we need you now, and you didn't have your badge, you wouldn't come in. They wouldn't allow you to work. You're like, but they need me. I know. So part of that is, if I'm on call and they say Thursday's my day and they might call me in, I keep my badge with me. I may be at Walmart, I may be at the beach, I may be at whatever. So I keep a little bag of clothes in my trunk for a change so I can rush in, and I've always got my badge with me so I don't have to rush back home and take more minutes to do that. Because that way the patient knows who we are. And it's not like well, I'm Chaplain Larry, sorry I left my badge at home. It's like, no. So nurses, if they come to work that day and they don't have their badge, oh, I forgot it. Can I just get a temporary one? No. Go back home. Go get your badge. You know the rules. Now they may go to Human Resources and pay $15 and go buy another one that day, but you don't want to do that too many times, you know. So it's kind of like the badge is very important to have and to keep with us. The census is the list of patient names and their room number, and sometimes their doctor name. That list is going to be available to you, the volunteer chaplain, but not the list be available to a local clergy. What we are going to do for local clergy, I'm not sure if we've done it yet, let me know. When when you come to the front desk of the hospital and say, I am a rabbi, I'm a minister, I'm a priest, whatever, may I see my denominational list? They're not doing that yet, are they?
No, they look it up.
They look it up for you and tell you. But what we're going to do soon, not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but soon, when you come to the desk and say, I'm Baptist, you can see the Baptist list. I'm Catholic, you can see the Catholic list. I'm Jewish, you can see the Jewish list, okay? So that way, you might see someone, oh, I didn't know they were here. I'll visit them while I'm here, okay? So even HIPAA law says we need to provide that for ministers. What the hospital used to think was, we can't do that, that would be a violation. Maybe a patient might be on the list that's not part of their congregation. But HIPAA law says we have to provide that denominational list for ministers that come in and ask for that. So no, we're not there yet. I've already asked at the desk, and they go, oh, we can't do that. Well, we'll take care of that. We'll teach them what they can do.
There's also a problem, it's not the hospital's fault, unfortunately, is the question is, do you want a clergyman to visit you?
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people will say,
Right, right.
leave it blank, and the hospital can't act.
Yep, right. So we're going to be changing that to making some changes in that so that we'll ask every patient when they come in would like to see their minister.
Like, for our church, they're non-denominational. So, I mean, you know, so they're all different faiths.
Yes,
So that
yes.
presents a big problem.
And we will have a category, non-denominational. And you said Unity Church?
Union.
Union. We can add that to, so what we're going to do, we're going to survey, this hospital is going to survey their area and come up with every denomination in their area. Now, you may not be like our Pennsylvania hospital that has Amish, you know, so it wouldn't be, but we were going to try to cover every denomination in your area. So when you
That
come
would
in,
help, yeah.
you will name yours and don't have it on the list. And if they don't, say, well, Larry said we were going to have them all on the list, just get it on the list.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I get back to the office and have to turn around and go back.
Yes.
Because they had marked Methodist or Episcopal or whatever.
Yes,
And, you know,
yes.
not non-denominational.
Yep.
So,
There's a lot of other non-denominational type ministers out there. Mine's not really one of those categories.
Right.
So what we're going to do is place a list in front of the patient when they come to admitting and say, as your minister comes to visit you, we need to know what denomination to put them under. So which one are you? And they check one, give that back to the clerk. And that gets on their medical record. So that way that gets captured.
Doing away with, would you like to have your clergyman visit?
That would be that would be at a different place. The admitting nurse will do that. But this is the admitting clerk when you're kind of doing insurance questions. They'll do, and then they'll do it again when the admitting nurse will see that patient. And they will ask, what's your place of worship? Would you like us to call it? Would you like to see a chaplain? Any other spiritual need while you're here? We can help you. So then that will be sent to the chaplain's office. The chaplain comes in and goes to this printer and finds those work orders and goes back and reassesses that patient's needs, fulfills that need, charges that need. So that will help, again, in that kind of 1-2 punch. We've already asked your denomination, now we're going to kind of ask it again and be sure that we capture that. But the best we can do, because if you were to print out a religious census right now, you would get a lot of blanks. Because here I am, a patient, I'm coming in, I'm very religious, but you're asking me all these kind of insurance and medical questions, and all of a sudden you go, and what is your denomination? And I go, of what? Why are you asking me that for? You just asked me what's my insurance company, and why do you want that? In fact, my doctor told me this was a simple procedure. You're scaring me. You know? So then we tell them why we're capturing that information, so that your minister, when they come in, if you'd like them to visit you, your minister know that you're here, we can capture that information and call them for them. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm this denomination. So we'll work with that and make that a little simpler. That census that we give you is a volunteer chaplain for that day. You go to a certain desk, you go, hi, I'm a volunteer chaplain, may I have a census? Yes, print it out. At the end of that day, when you leave, that census, or even any list of patient names, can't go on with you. That's a violation of HIPAA. Now, I know the doctor puts them in his pocket, her pocket, takes them home. That's okay. It's their patient. But nurses can't do that. We can't do that.
Shred, where?
There will be a particular shredder or a shredder bin that will be shredded. And we'll define that for you. And so that when you leave that day, okay, I'm done for the day, and I'll put this in this bin, and somebody will shred that for you. We have a shredder company that comes in and empties those bins and shreds those forms. So that will go in a certain place. So you may think, well, what if I list 3 names here so I can go home and pray for them? You got to keep them up here. And I always say, if you forget, God remembers. You know, that man with, you know, curly hair, Lord, what was his name? You know, he remembers. But what we're going to keep in your chaplain's office is a list of names. So if you come in the next day and want to, oh, I want to see if they're still here, you'll have a record, but not to take home. Why these lists are so strong is because HIPAA is out there trying to find those violating this. And it is, you're immediately fired. So if your career was a nurse or a doctor, you might not be working as a nurse or a doctor ever again. Except penance. Put all that time into that, and I gave up one little bit of information, and or at least I can't work at this place anymore. I might find some other hospital I could work at, you know, but no longer there. And there is possibility of $250,000 fine and 10 years in prison. That's the max. But don't you guess that don't happen, because as a manager of my hospital for 13 years, we used to get monthly a report in our corporation of who, not the name who was fired, not the name, but at least the situation. I think it was to scare us, you know. So it's not like it doesn't, it happens. And some of this is, oh, the mayor was in the hospital, and oh, did you know he was an alcoholic, you know? And well, it's like, why do we share that? Why do we even share he's here, you know? It's just, so we have been too loose-lipped. And let's take this to the minister clergy realm who's not even a volunteer chaplain. You're not even working with the hospital. I was one of those ministers for 17 years. And every time I visited one of my people in my church, I came back to the church office. What does the secretary do? Is she going to have surgery tomorrow? What's the surgery going to be about? How long is she going to be there? Tell me more. And you would tell. Because you're presuming they want prayer and people want to do specific prayer. You know, and then it's on the prayer list. You write it on a whiteboard. It's on the newsletter. It's on the prayer list on Wednesday night. And 99.9% of those patients want that prayer and don't mind. It's that 1% to go, you told them I had a double mastectomy? Or you told them I had prostate cancer? I dare you. I didn't say you could tell that. But we're like, oh, we want people to pray. So again, let's even respect that as a local clergy. Even though HIPAA cannot touch you, that's law for hospitals and for insurance companies. But even if they can't touch you, it's still not a good thing to let that out. Joint Commission, as I talked about, gave us this ability to do this assessment, wants us to move along with that. And in the olden days, clergy could come to the front desk and say, you know me, I'm brother so-and-so, can I see the whole list of patients? Sure, brother, you know, go ahead. And we look through the list and go visit all those patients. Well, no longer. So what we're going to do now, we're going to ask the nurse to ask the patient what their denomination is and call that church and say, did you know that Mr. Jones is here? Didn't know that. Be right over. That's about the best we can do. Make that connect. If the patient says yes, and a lot of people have their cell phones today and call their own minister, but they all, you know, it's no big deal. You see, the first day of diagnostics, it's not a big deal. Oh, it's going to be simple. It's going to be fine. Then the next day, oh no, I need my minister here, you know? So it's kind of that reassessment that volunteer chaplains will do every day. How are you doing? Has your place of worship been called? Well, I didn't think it was important yesterday, but can you call them today? Because the news I just got, yes, I'd love to see them now. Here's another way that ministers can get beyond this secret information. You're a local minister. You're not a badge-wearing chaplain. You're just coming in to visit your people. If the patient gives you the code word or code number to you, the minister, then you can call in and say, I'd like to know about Mrs. Smith. What's the code word? Fluffy. Okay, you know the code word, and blah, blah, blah. We do this for many different family members outside of town. So if a brother, sister, mother, dad, whatever, outside of town, I'm their mother. Prove it. Well, there's no way to prove it. I'm the wife. You go bring, you know, fax me a marriage certificate. You know, it's like, you can't prove the relationship on the phone, but if you know the code word, because the patient gave it to you, So the first thing the nurse asks when they see a new patient, give me a code word. Think of anything you want to. Your cat's name, Fluffy, give me a number, I don't care. Just give me something, I'll write it down. So when they call in, if it matches, we'll give them information. So if you, the local minister, if your people of your church give you that code word, then you can get information. If they don't, you can't get it. But the best way, probably just talk to the patient. Some patients are semi-comatose, anoxic, on medication, just out of surgery, and they might not give you information. So this is one way to do that. Another way, or let's talk about this other issue. When you come to the front desk and the day before you talk to this patient and they said, I'm coming in the hospital, Mark, can you come see me? Yep, I'll come see you. I'll see you there, Sally. So go to the front desk, I'd like to come see Sally Jones today. What room's she in? We don't have a Sally Jones. And they don't say, but we have a Sarah Jones. Because it might not be the right one. And that would be a violation of giving that name. So then they go, oh, no, sir, we don't have a Sally Jones, sorry. Well, I know she's here. In fact, I just talked to her husband this morning. They were on their way. We don't have a Sally Jones, I'm sorry. Now, if you call up her husband and say, what's her real name? Sarah. We've never called her Sarah. We've always called her Sally. And so sometimes getting that real, or they use a middle name, not the first name, and on the list is the first name. So we're like, sorry, we don't have another Jones. You know, we can't even say there's 3 Joneses here. Which one do you want to pick? So I know we're playing hardball, we're playing difficult, but the front desk persons are taught to be careful with that. Here's another way a minister can capture information and get information. If you, the minister, are named the surrogate, like on the advance directive form, the living will, the name surrogate, you can get information for that. Now, really, that surrogate form, again, is mainly for making decisions for a patient about end-of-life issues. So you may want to be careful before you become the surrogate, because you're going to might have to make some difficult decisions someday. I'm not saying don't do that, but just note that you might also one day be making do not resuscitate order decisions or removal of life support decisions, not just getting patient information decisions. Another way you could put their power of attorney, but power of attorney is basically for banking, not really for medical release. So even if, according to Florida, you had a power of attorney form and said, here, I'm responsible for their money, and they go, well, that's nice, but you're not responsible for their medical decisions. We need your surrogate information for that. Are you the surrogate on the advance directive? No, I'm not. I'm just the power of attorney on banking. Sorry, that doesn't work for us here. That's important, but it doesn't work for us here. So in some ways, we need to kind of move to another realm of a medical release form by HIPAA. This form is very new to most hospitals. Most hospitals, you say, do you have a HIPAA release form, blank one, that I can fill out? No. In fact, I tried my hardest just to find one on the internet of a blank one. Finally found one, I think it was a hospital in New York. And it was like, it's just not very well known, but it's something new that's coming across America of a HIPAA release form, not quite the surrogate form responsible for end-of-life issues, but a HIPAA release form that I can get information. If this patient signs it, puts my name there, then I can get information. Something new that's coming. So I'm just trying to tell you some ways that we can get around the HIPAA law. It's a loop, it's legal, but it's a way that you can get information. If you're a volunteer chaplain and you're coming in the hospital doing your ministry, and you go home and you want to say, hey honey, I want to tell you about a great experience I had today, or a terrible experience I had today, I could tell them, but I wouldn't use the patient's name. Now what if it's the neighbor down the street or the person in our church that I say so much, they go, that's Molly at church, right? Oh, don't too much, okay? But I can share experiences with my wife and with another volunteer chaplain. Now, if that volunteer chaplain's going to go do ministry with them tomorrow or later an hour, again, that's need to know. But what if we're just sitting in the cafeteria and telling them about something that happened last month? Tell them the experience, and I really beg you to talk experiences, but don't tell names. In fact, please do that. So let's say you're on Monday volunteer chaplain, you're Tuesday and Wednesday, you may never see each other. But please get together sometime at a cafeteria and go, tell me your worst visit last month and tell me your best one and tell me, you know, and they're like, I never would have thought doing it that way, that's great, but just don't say the name. And even sometimes the diagnosis and all really isn't the important part, it's the experience we had. So please discuss that without the name. Next is every minister, according to the state of Florida and other states, every ordained minister, not just a volunteer chaplain who's a lay minister, every ordained minister has an implied sacred trust of hearing confessions, hearing sins, hearing problems, hearing issues such as, maybe I'm so mad at my brother-in-law, I'm about ready to kill him. Maybe I'm so sad, I think I'm ready to end my life. You, as a minister, should be able to listen to that. And according to the state of Florida, do not have to report that. But it doesn't mean you can't report that. There's a very sticky law there. And I'm not up on it. I've had a lot of people contest me, and I go, please tell me more. Tell me what you know. Send me your stuff. There's a certain part of the law that goes, as a minister, you have to keep that a secret. You have an implied sacred trust, and you have to protect that because that's your clergy client. And they're saying, don't report to anybody. And there's another view of like, well, what if it's a minor? What if it's a senior? What if it's a situation of a retarded person? So if you were a hospital employee, or a nurse, or a doctor, or school teacher, you have to report. You would go to jail if you didn't report. So the clergy is told, you don't have to. You need to keep this sacred trust. Now, let's put this in the context of where you'll be working in the hospital. A badge-wearing hospital chaplain, you're ordained. You're under this Florida law, you don't have to report, but you're working under a different, in fact, even the Florida law talks about church, even though this synagogue, it really used the word church, it really used
House of worship.
House of, it should, you know, but it says church, and I go, okay, they kind of talk about this place where I serve as a local minister. Now in the hospital, I'm clergy, I'm ordained, I'm working under the hospital's codes of ethics. So I say, as a hospital chaplain, err on the side of reporting if you really think they're serious about homicide, suicide, or if it's a minor, or if it's a senior, or if it's a person with disabilities. So there may be times when I go, I don't think they're that serious. I don't think they're really going to kill someone or kill themselves. So I'll just listen. Two experiences that I've had about that. One was a man was on hospice care in our hospital. They were giving him every pain medication they could, and it just couldn't cut the pain. And he said to me, chaplain, I don't know what to do. They're going to release me today, and I think I'm just going to go home and just take a pistol and do myself in. I said, well, sir, I don't know what I would do in your situation if I were in pain like that. I might do the same thing. But I'm going to have to let someone know. I am responsible for you leaving here. What would your family say to me if I didn't try to protect you? So I know you have friends. I've seen them come in. And I know they were taking care of your home. I'm going to have them go in and take your weapons, and then we're going to discharge you. We did. He went home. There was a weapon they didn't know about, and he killed himself. But we did the best we could in trying to protect him. Another event, there was an employee who kept coming to me saying, I'm sad, my life is terrible. And I think for the most part, she was just getting attention. But on one certain day, she said, Larry, I have pills in my purse, pills in my car, pills at home. I'm tired of it. Then I said, well, you and I are going to go across the street to the behavioral center, and we're going to get checked in. She goes, well, I got to pick up my son at 4 o'clock. I go, no, someone else will. We're going to go across the street, and we're going to get checked in. We're going to get help. And even while they were checking her in, she asked for a cup of water and didn't take the pills out of her purse, and she took every one of them while they were out of the room. And I go, hello, I told you she had pills in her purse, you know. So there are times when, and she lived through it, you know, but there are times when, for the best part of their life, I report. And there's been other times I've used to kind of pretend the confessional. Please tell me that your saddest story, what's going on in your life. I will listen, I will pray with you, and I will report to no one. It's a tough issue. And I definitely don't have the last word on that, especially for the clergy at the church. You know, that's the difficult. Standard precautions, simple washing our hands and keeping ourselves clean. Going to a sink with hot water is the best method, but even we don't have one of those dispensers in here, but in every hospital patient rooms, in almost every room in the hospital, you'll see a little foam dispenser. That is really good enough. It can take the place of hot water and soap. And so you do that for like 15 seconds. Some talk about singing happy birthday to yourself or whatever between the fingers, fingernails, really good and clean, and dry them before you shake them with a wet hand. Okay? Because it's simple to go in the room and you're washing your hands and you're rushing and you're sticking there going, yuck. So dry your hand, and it dries pretty quickly. About a $50 size is about enough to take care of that. So we need to wash our hands before and after each visit. Now think about this as clergy. We haven't even worked in the hospital yet. We're just clergy coming in. Even clergy, every visitor, wash your hands before, and it protects you. It protects the patient, but especially the employees. Just named that ACA was in our hospital today, the state. I just named that Joint Commission can come and inspect the hospitals. What they will do, probably they've done this today. They've stood down the hallway and just watched people going in and out of rooms and see if they wash their hands. If they didn't do that enough today, they'll be back next month and check again. And there will be big problems if they find it again. So you as a badge-wearing volunteer chaplain going, well, I wash my hands in the restroom down the hall. My hands are clean. You still wash it again. And we used to kind of not do it in front of the patient, like, well, why are you washing your hands? Or especially when we're leaving the patient, but why, you think I'm dirty? Everybody washes their hands in front of the patient when they come in and when they leave. And if you ever catch someone not doing it, that's not saying it's okay for you to. So it is standard precautions. So let's even take this possibility. Let's say I have my portfolio that I normally take and I see patients with. You know, okay, my extra information, maybe my Bible, maybe some handouts in there, and I keep this with me all the time. So I'm walking in the room and I normally stick that under my dirty armpit and I'm washing my hands and I pick this back up again and I go and talk to the patient. When's the last time you cleaned this? You know, it's like this carries some germs with it. And so you may clean, and you may carry something that's easy to clean, okay? Leather rather than cloth, okay? Something that you can take in the room, and so I would wash that occasionally too with that and go in and talk with the patient. And then even in a restroom, I'm cleaning up, I'm using paper towels, I might take that towel and turn off the hot and cold, and then I would even open the door, leaving the room, prop one foot, and most trash cans are close enough so you can toss it in the trash can and leave without touching the door. Why? Because the last 6 people didn't wash their hands and touch the door. And you go, Larry, you must have OCD. You must be obsessive compulsive about this. We have to be. We have to protect the patients. In fact, here's how serious the federal government is. The disease MRSA, they picked up one disease called MRSA, and they said it is so rampant in hospitals, the federal government says we have to stop this. And here's what we're going to do to stop this. If one of your patients gets MRSA while they're in the hospital, we're not paying the bill. $90,000 open heart bill, you will eat it. So now we have to test every patient that comes out to be sure they do or don't have MRSA now, so that when they get it, we can say they already had it when they came in. We didn't give it to them. So they are serious about these diseases, stopping these diseases. So something that let's think about this, just every time as we have gone in as a minister, most likely we have not washed. Most likely we have not taken care of the patient. Think of the patient too. What is the one person, if the doctor washes, the nurse washes, the chaplain washes, everybody washes, what's one person in the room that almost never washes? Patient. They're eating their food without washing and excuse me, scratching and itching and whatever else, and we're shaking hands with them. And you're going to go visit the next patient? You see, oh, I thought I was, I'd already washed before I came in. So then this transmission can come with that. So what we're going to do, let's say that you will go to a patient's room, and every room you pretend that the patient might be infected, so you wash. But if there's this metal apparatus hanging on the door that has gloves and masks and gowns on it, that is a clear indicator that this room is for an infectious disease room. We have spotted a disease in this patient, and it will have a little card saying what you need to wear, a mask or gloves or gown. And if you're not sure, I almost every time go down to the nursing station and go, I'm about to go in room 12. How shall I protect myself and the patient? Oh, well, we just got a note back from the doctor that the MRSA is okay, so you don't have to do that now, or you need a glove or mask or whatever, and then you would do whatever you need to do. So you've gone in and what I do first, if I need to do all three, gown first, then the mask, and then the gloves. If I put the gloves on first, I won't be able to tie them, okay? And then when I leave the room, all that goes into a special trash can. Some hospitals say the regular trash can. Some say the red trash can. So you find out what the protocol is here and find out where you place that. If I were to wear this gown down the hallway to the men's restroom, I've contaminated the hallway. So I dispose of it in that room so that the patient can be protected there. If you, the volunteer chaplain, are sick and needing some yucky stuff like colored mucus, diarrhea, coughing, fever, infected wounds, stay home that day. I know you may feel responsible, feel like everybody needs me, you know, I'm gonna have to call somebody else in on my behalf. Don't get those codependent thoughts. It's like, I gotta protect the patients. So call in that day, get somebody else to come in here. The new way to cough is to sleep. Rather the hands, the sleep. And so now I don't grab somebody in the sleep anymore. You know, it's like new precautions there, okay? None of that old handshake with you grabbing the sleeve of the hand. So it's different ways to do that to protect yourself. Corporate compliance is basically business ethics. And you say, well, what does this have to do with me? I'm going to be a volunteer chaplain coming in. What kind of business ethics could I break? Let's suppose somebody in your family owned a pharmacy, a funeral home, or was a physician, or something to do with medical, and in the conversation you go, well, go down to this pharmacy, or use this funeral home, or my brother-in-law, he's a doctor, go to him, I know he's great. That's solicitation. That would be illegal. That would be breaking ethics rules. Now what I might can do, there's 3 funeral homes in town, here's all 3. Or even like suggesting a church. Here's 3 good churches. You know what kind of church, what kind of worship you're looking for? Here's 3 instead of mine. Okay? So instead of promoting what we think is best, especially the financial part, we would not name that, or at least name all the places and all the choices. The rules of the hospital stay for all employees not to accept any gift above $100. Now, I even say for volunteer chaplains, why do we need a gift at all? I come in and pray with someone, minister to them, they, oh, thank you, Larry, so much. Here's $50. You don't have to pay me $50, you know? So the hospital says, the rules say $100. But I even say, why do we need to do that? Why would we accept? Just kind of go, no, you don't need to pay me. Now there are some people like, they would be offended if you didn't take their cookies and all, you know?
If I do a funeral, I get the money.
Yeah, we're gonna
but
do
it
it.
doesn't go to me. I tell them, make it
Okay.
at the Temple Israel.
Yeah, okay.
So I will not.
Yeah, the funeral is the big one there.
I won't benefit from it.
Yeah.
But my congregation,
Yeah.
it'll help patients.
But I know some volunteer chaplains that make an income by that. You know, they need an income, and it helps them. So I would say, okay, if I'm in a room and someone has died, I don't go, I can do a funeral, you know, I just don't tell them. Now the funeral home may have me on their list, and they go, you died at Charlotte Regional Hospital in Punta Gorda? Well, there's a chaplain there, did you meet him? Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure he might be available. He is, he did tell me. So I wouldn't promote that. But the funeral home might say, well, yeah, let's give Larry a call and see if it's a good day for him to do that. And they may cut me a check for doing that, and they ask the family for that. And I may go to my CFO and go, listen, let me just be upfront with you. I do funerals. I don't promote it. The funeral home calls me. I don't solicit this. You know, so, but I might make an income by that, and I might need an income, and that's okay if it's reported. So you may think, well, didn't know there's little ethical things like that can go on, and that way there's keeps us all on the up and up. Nobody misunderstands what we're doing. Different qualities for a volunteer chaplain and different things we need to do every year. The first day you come and get your badge as a volunteer chaplain, you'll get a PPD test, TB test, and you'll get annually learning about codes, stroke alerts, and things like that. You'll learn what we did today about HIPAA, standard precaution, and corporate compliance. So every year, we're going to be recertified. Every employee, every hospital